What do you mean Epstein wrote in an email that Trump knew what he was doing the entire time and hung out at a house with one of his victims for hours on end? What do you mean that email has been in the possession of both the DOJ and a reporter and Congress this entire time and was only released this morning? What do you mean by that? Why now? Where has this been the whole time? The email is from 2011. 2011. 2011 was, let me do math here, 14 years. The email is old enough to be a victim. Why is it taking so long for this email to be shown to the world?
Let's say you're right. I'll grant that you're right, and he's on the list and all the things, and you're right about all the accusations you've been making. Why is it wrong that he did those things?
Are you asking me why it's wrong to rape children?
Well, that was quick. Texas A&M police already responded to this incident and said they were aware of what happened. They have relieved that cop/state trooper of his...
Hello guys, welcome once again to the channel. I hope wherever you're watching, you're having a great time. Now, MAGA is crashing out, and one of the things that is making the MAGA movement to crash out is the fact that there is this hot debate about the Epstein files. You know, there are those who have purported that there could be the name of Trump in those files, and that is something that people think has prevented Trump from releasing these files from the beginning, because one of his campaign points was that when he gets to office, he was going to expose the Washington elite who are in cahoots with Jeffrey Epstein to do the things they did to young and underage kids. And that is something that I think most people held him to. They wanted Trump to release these files. But then when he got to office, it's like he developed cold feet. He didn't want to release these files immediately. And that has been an issue that most MAGA people have been talking about, and others are even cutting links with Trump because they think Trump is protecting himself. His name is there, and he doesn't want these files released. So just the other day, he spoke and said that he wants Republicans to vote for the opening of these Epstein files. And while that might have an effect on the entire political landscape as we know it today, there are many people who are still protecting him and are talking about Trump being on the right, when in real sense, he has also been a friend and has been mentioned differently on this issue of Jeffrey Epstein and the files. So there was this podcast talking about the pros and cons of Trump being in these Epstein files. And one caller or listener called and asked a very, very surprising question, that what does the podcaster think is wrong with Trump having engaged in the things that he's being accused of? So you get to understand why MAGA supporters sometimes are very delusional. They are wondering what wrong did Trump ever do if in any case he participated in the things that Jeffrey Epstein was accused of. Is this how people should be rolling? I want you to take a listen to this entire conversation that they had, then you'll get the reactions that he received, and then we shall come back in the end with my commentaries. Let's watch.
I'll grant that you're right, and he's on the list and all the things, and you're right about all the accusations you've been making. Why is it wrong that he did those things?
Are you asking me why it's wrong to rape children?
Yeah, I need you to tell me why it is wrong in your eyes
To rape children?
to do that. Yes. Do you need me to repeat it? Can you not hear me? Do you have too many cocks in your ears, or what's up? Why is it wrong? Is that too hard of a question?
It's happening. It's actually happening.
Why don't you actually answer the question?
It's actually happening.
No, because I asked the question. Why are you?
I didn't think this one would happen. You know, we see it often. They'll say that something's wrong, and then Trump will do it, and then they'll defend it. Did that with J6. Did that with the J6 pardons. Did that with the Medicaid cuts. Did that with the SNAP cuts. Just didn't think they'd do it with child rape.
Obfuscating. Let's just get to the fucking point, bro.
I just didn't think they'd do it with child rape. And now we're seriously at that point where Trump supporters are now saying that it's not wrong to rape children and asking why it is wrong to rape children.
Went on Dean Withers' live stream and straight up asked, why is it wrong to rape children? What the actual fuck is happening? He's sitting there mocking Dean for hesitating, calling him pearl clutching and beta behavior. This piece of shit demanding an explanation as if children rape needs a goddamn debate. Meanwhile, Dean is actually fucking stunned, pointing out how Trump supporters flip on everything. January 6th, Medicaid cuts, SNAP cuts, and now they're defending child rape. This guy kept on pushing him, saying, answer the question like PDF file is up for negotiation? It's because of their orange cult leader is tied to Epstein, who raped kids, and Trump called him a terrific guy who likes them young. These assholes are twisting themselves into a fucking pretzel just to excuse pedophilia, inventing new terms like a phebophile for teens that are between 15 and 19, as if that makes it fucking any better. Raping anyone underage is evil, period. But now, to protect Trump, they're questioning if it's even wrong. I would say they hit rock bottom, but I'm sure they're gonna find a new low. How far will they go to defend their pedophile adjacent god? I don't know. This normalization is fucking dangerous, turning society into a predator paradise. Why raping a kid is bad is a question that actually came out of somebody's mouth. Like and follow for more. If you want to support me directly, the link is in my profile.
Y'all damn mind. A Trump supporter got on Dean Withers live and asked him what was wrong with messing with little children. Why is that so bad? In defense of Donald Trump being a part of the Epstein emails. There's not a hill for y'all. So now messing with children is okay. You got to be, where's the CIA? Are y'all paying attention to that fucking live? Did somebody get that man's information? Now, I can understand defending a man. Okay, I get that. But defending a man against children? That should never be a fucking question. What is wrong with messing with children? Can you answer me that? Dean was sitting there like, no, I can't answer that shit. Y'all maggots, something is really wrong with y'all. Like, y'all will find any reason to support this man. This is why we say y'all are different from everybody else. Y'all are literally a cult mind. Y'all will find any way to put this man on a pedestal, even defending him, messing with underage girls. Y'all have no limits, and that is scary. I really have a question for MAGA. What aren't you willing to do for Donald Trump? Because it seems like there isn't a limit. This is how I know y'all have lost y'all damn mind. A Trump supporter got...
Okay. At some point, where do you Trump supporters draw the line? I need to know. Because at first it was, he was a great businessman. He lied about that. Then at first it was, he was better than Obama because, well, at least we can prove that he's American. Lied about that. Y'all just cutting the wire at both ends. And I'm just waiting for this shit to blow up. Because, come on now. Really? It's okay now to fuck kids? And y'all gonna still stand behind this man? You're still going to stand behind this man? Where is the line? I need to know.
Nurse here to tell you why raping children is wrong outside of the obvious. Okay, so there are these things called ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences, and they are negative things that happen to children prior to the age of 18. These are things like abuse or neglect or even witnessing violence that can literally change a child's developing brain. And child sex abuse isn't just a bad moment. It's something that can literally rewire their nervous system and puts them at such a higher risk for PTSD, depression, anxiety, addiction, chronic illness, and early death. So yeah, child sex abuse is wrong because it can destroy their health, development, identity, and also the whole trajectory of their life. This is so crazy. I feel like protecting children is the basics of a functional society.
Of course the media is going along with this. Did we expect anything different? So Trump comes out and says that he wants the House to vote to release the Epstein files. And the media reports it as a major shift. Donald Trump now supports releasing the Epstein files. Are they really this stupid, or do they just think that the rest of us are? Donald Trump doesn't want to release the Epstein files, and he's not going to. This isn't a shift in his position. This is a shift in his PR strategy. He saw that the House was going to vote to release the Epstein files, and he couldn't stop it. I mean, he tried everything he could, including shutting the government down to prevent them from voting on releasing the Epstein files. That's why we had a government shutdown, because it gave Grinder Mike Johnson an excuse for not swearing in Congresswoman Grijalva. But then Democrats screwed up Trump's plans and cut a deal, so the government was going to reopen, and Grinder Mike had to swear her in. So she's the 218th vote on the discharge petition, which forces a vote in the House on releasing the Epstein files. And then Trump did everything he could to try to prevent Republicans from voting for it. He called Nancy Mason to the White House to pressure her. She wouldn't cave. He tried to make an example of Marjorie Taylor Greene, calling her a traitor, trying to destroy her, as a signal to the rest of the Republican Party, don't you dare vote for this. When that didn't work, and it looks like there's going to be tons of Republicans voting to release the Epstein files, he had to change strategy. So now he comes out and says, yeah, well, they should release the Epstein files. But that doesn't mean they're going to be released. First of all, this is just the House. The Senate would have to vote on this too. And there was Senator Barrasso over the weekend was on the Sunday show saying, yeah, we're not voting for, we're not even going to hold a vote. So the Senate's not going to even vote on it. And if they do, they need 60 votes. They'll just filibuster it and it'll never pass the Senate. And then even if it does pass the Senate, Donald Trump still has to release the files, which he's not going to do. He just ordered an investigation. Pam Bondi appointed a prosecutor to start an investigation so that they would have an excuse to not release the files. They're going to say, well, we'd love to release these files, but we got this ongoing investigation, so we can't release anything. Nothing is going to be released. This is just a PR strategy to deal with the fallout of the House voting for releasing the Epstein files. But Trump hasn't changed. He's in those friggin' files. Why do you think he's been trying so hard to cover it up?
Hey, Democrats, I'm going to end this Epstein shit right now. Democrats tried everything to get Trump to not be reelected. They did the Russiagate. BBC did what they did, editing the video. They tried everything they could. And you think that if they had information that Trump was in cahoots with Epstein and doing these bad things to women and girls, don't you think they would have already released it before the 2024 election? Yes, they would have. So that ends everything about the Epstein case right now.
Do care, you orange potato. You do care, because if you didn't care, you would have released the files right after you were sworn into presidency, because you promised your fan base, you promised your voters that you were going to help release the files. And then once you realized the files was actually going to be released, that's when you panicked, that's when you tried to gaslight, that's when you tried to start fake wars, you tried to stop fake wars, you tried to ban TikTok, and then pretend you were the hero, and then unban TikTok, and then you came out that you like peeing, and then you want to bully that white girl that's been sitting here being racist and homophobic for you this whole time, and Marjorie Greene. Stop it. You care. You're calling people's bluffs because you think or you know that the files will never be released, because we clearly know that you have the FBI in your hand. It's clear as day that you have a few Democrats under your belt too. You're not as smart as you think you are, bro. I don't need to be a body language expert to know that you fear for your life about these files coming out. The way you reacted when that Bubba email came out about you giving the Gawk 9000 with the extendo clip told me everything I needed to know. I can only imagine what is in those files, bro. You are panicking. You do care.
So last night, Donald Trump told Republicans to vote to release the Epstein files, the ones that he calls a Democratic hoax, saying that he has nothing to hide and it's time to move on from the Democratic hoax. Don't be fooled. This isn't him saying, oh, I have nothing to hide. This is Trump merely realizing that Republicans are going to vote to release them, and if he goes against it, he's going to look even more guilty than he already does. He's merely buying himself time knowing that it still has to pass the Senate and then he can veto them.
So here's the current state of MAGA. They're saying they just don't care if Trump did terrible things to minors. It doesn't matter to them. Take a look. This guy says, I don't give a single F if Donald Trump was with 17-year-olds in bikinis or if he slept with them. I care about deportations. When I see Indians and Mexicans in my country, I don't think, well, at least Joe Biden wasn't friends with Epstein. I can't believe this is what the MAGA movement has become, openly shrugging off SA of minors. Not arguing it didn't happen, not denying it, not even pretending to be outraged. Just saying that if Trump did terrible things to a 17-year-old against her will, they don't care. This is not politics anymore, that is moral bankruptcy. They've been conditioned to defend anything that Trump does, no matter how obviously evil it is. It's crazy to think these are the same people who have spent years screaming about protecting the children and trying to accuse trans people of grooming them. But when it comes to Donald Trump, the man who was found liable in court for SA and has been proven to be Epstein's best friend, suddenly they don't care. Just think about it. The fact that there are brown people in this country upsets them more than a grown man sleeping with a child.
Can you believe Trump had a sudden change of heart and he wants the Epstein files released now? Wrong. Trump wants the Epstein files buried now more than ever. And you need to know his sinister plan to permanently block the release of the Epstein files. So Pam Bondi and the FBI at Trump's request are now officially investigating Epstein's involvement in relationship with Clinton and others, Democrats. Bondi said the department will pursue this with urgency and integrity. In other words, open this investigation before they can release the Epstein files. And voila! At this point, Trump can take a breath of fresh air and stop trying to prevent the release of the Epstein files. Now he can play the good guy and say, oh, release them, go ahead. Any lawyer will tell you that even if Congress overwhelmingly votes to force the Department of Justice to release all the Epstein files, the DOJ can't. If there's an open investigation relating to the Epstein files, no matter what, the DOJ cannot legally release the files until the investigation concludes. Pam Bondi and the DOJ can just keep this investigation open forever. Obviously not forever, and I'm not a lawyer, but you know what I mean. They're gonna keep this investigation open as long as possible. So there you have it. Donald Trump is gonna use an open investigation into Epstein as their way to prevent the documents from going public. Honestly, it's kind of a brilliant plan. Super evil, but brilliant. On top of them keeping the Epstein files buried and protecting pedophiles, Trump gets to look like the good guy. The good president who had a change of heart. Then, aw, darn, we didn't succeed at releasing the files because of the investigation that I demanded Pam Bondi open? Shucks, we tried. Why else would Trump suddenly want an investigation specifically into Bill Clinton and other Democrats, and at the same time have a sudden change of heart, doing a complete 180, completely changing his mind about the files, unless there's some other legal maneuver that Democrats and other people who want the Epstein files released can do to release them? I don't know, you'll have to let me know in the comments. Please, please, please share this video and tell other people about this. We cannot let our country be caught off guard when we suddenly find out when it's too late that, oh, Epstein files are buried. There's an investigation open. We can't release them. Let's stay one move ahead of the Trump regime. The victims need justice, and we cannot let this administration keep protecting pedophiles. If you're not passionate about this like I am, you should be. Stopping Donald Trump from protecting pedophiles and himself is what's called being on the right side of history.
In an abrupt change of position, Donald Trump is now saying that he is encouraging Republicans to vote to pass the bill to release the Epstein files. Now, there's a lot of people who say, oh, it's because he's redacted everything from them and no one's going to be able to find anything in it. But there's two things to consider. First of all, the reason he is now encouraging Republicans to vote for the release of the Epstein files is because they were going to do it anyways. And he would have looked really, really bad if over 100 Republicans voted against his express wishes. So this is a little bit damage control on his point to make it look like when all of these Republicans vote for it, that he's on board with it. And now the most important reason why he's also allowing the vote to go forward and saying that Republicans should vote for it is because, remember, he instructed his Department of Justice to open an investigation into Democrats who are in the Epstein files. So even if this bill passes, the Epstein files will most likely not be released because there's an ongoing investigation. And so the Epstein files, as part of this ongoing investigation, will not be allowed to be released to the public. So it's a strategic decision on his part to make it look like his party is not rebelling against him, and also because he knows that most likely those files will not be released regardless.
For months, Trump has been calling the Epstein stuff a Democrat hoax.
Because it's a Democrat hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. This is a Democrat hoax.
But now, he's on True Social saying House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. So which is it, Donald? Is it a hoax, or do you have nothing to hide? Here's what's actually happening. The House now has enough Democrat and Republican votes for a discharge petition to force the release of these files. Trump was about to lose this fight, so suddenly, miraculously, he's all about transparency. That's called damage control. He's trying to get ahead of something that's happening with or without him. But here's a really damning part. Trump doesn't need House Republicans to do anything. He controls the Department of Justice. He can order Attorney General Bondi and FBI Director Patel to release those files right now, today, this afternoon. But instead, he's calling on Congress to do it. That's like having the keys to your own house, but asking your neighbor to break in for you. And why is he asking Congress to do this? Because when the moment comes, Bondi will say, there's an ongoing investigation. We can't disclose this. And Trump will back her up, which is highly convenient because he's the one who asked her to open the investigation in the first place. What a coincidence. We've seen this exact playbook 100 times. And here's a terrifying question. Has Trump already ordered Bondi and Patel to destroy some of these files? They've had access since January. What have they been doing for the past 10 months? Here's what's actually happening. Trump is performing transparency while orchestrating a cover-up. He's making a big show of supporting the release now that it's inevitable, so he can look like the hero while his Justice Department quietly buries the most damaging parts. It's the oldest trick in the authoritarian playbook. When you're about to lose, pretend you wanted it all along. Trump says he doesn't care about Epstein. He only cares about the economy, affordability, and reducing inflation. Cool. Then release the files today and let's move on. Oh wait, you can't, because you never actually wanted them released. You wanted to use them as a political weapon, dangle them as leverage, and ultimately bury them when they threaten people like you. And if nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive, why did your Justice Department arrest him? Why did he die in federal custody? Why are there files at all? The cover-up isn't coming. The cover-up is here. It's happening right now in real time while Trump pretends he's been pushing for transparency all along. This isn't about Democrats or Republicans. This is about accountability. Hold everyone accountable, Democrats and Republicans. And you're actively destroying it while trying to take credit for it.
So this video is likely going to get me banned because I'm going to go into as much as I can in graphic detail as a former forensic nurse practitioner, given what's going on with the whole Epstein case. Because a lot of people don't see the back end of the medical piece, right? Like you guys see the testimony, you read the articles, you watch video stitches, but what really happened medically? So I used to work in forensics, and it's some heavy work, and I may dissociate by looking over here instead of the camera, so I'm going to apologize just because I have to recall all of the horrific things I saw. But at the time, there were 16 practitioners, and if every practitioner sees about 20,000 patients, that means that the clinic had close to 300,000 people who were physically and sexually assaulted. We saw children as young as like newborn age due to shaken baby syndrome and whatnot, all the way to like 26, you know. And it's crazy the number of like teenagers that would come. And this is what happens. Literally, if we know about it, okay, if they come forth, because you know most victims do not come forth, okay, if they come forth, they're usually brought in by police. And it could be in the middle of the night because it was a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour clinic. And the reason why it's 24/7 is because you cannot take a shower if you're a victim of rape, because you will wash away all of that forensic data. So you can imagine your offenders come all over your body, you're sticky, you're cold, and it's 2 or 3 in the morning, and police officers are bringing you in to this clinic, as much as we try to paint the walls and whatnot, it's the basement of the hospital, okay? It's not a pretty sight. 12 bedrooms, sterile doors that are like really super heavy because it used to be a radiology facility. And you wait for a provider to be available. Like I said, each provider saw about 20,000 patients. That's how many rape and physical child abuse cases we received per year. And that's devastating. And so you're waiting in this room, sitting on a chair, told you can't shower, told you can't pee, okay, because we need to collect the data. When the provider's there, then they bring you into the room, and then there is a grape test. And if you ladies think a pap smear is uncomfortable, holy shit. Okay, like the stuff that is collected. All right. And then you stand before this provider, okay, still covered in the stickiness of this man's cum. We strip you naked, and we have to start taking pictures. We have to take pictures of any markings, any bruises, any, lacerations, burns to the body. Sadly, we even have to, when I say markings, I'm talking about handcuffs. I'm talking about rope marks. I'm talking about chains. Yeah. And then we have to measure them and then make sure we locate where on the body we saw what. And that goes into a report that goes to the district attorney. Okay? And of course, then the woman or child, because I saw kids as young as 12 and 14, even 8 months old, they are allowed to now finally shower. We give them a clean pair of underwear, a sweatshirt, and sweatpants and socks that are, by the way, not brand new. They're donated. Okay? It was donation based. They get this and they shower. And then they have to go to another cold and sterile room where we interview them. And so they have to relive the horrific experience of their rapist. Not just once, that's just that night, right? But no matter how much you shower, you will never shower away the ick of that man's cum on your body. And yeah, that was my experience as a forensic nurse practitioner 11 years ago. And that is the experience of somebody who has to go into one of these sterile places. And I would say that America is not mad enough. MAGA is not mad enough. Okay? It is a terrible, horrific experience for everybody involved, but especially the victim.
Welcome back to the channel. Now, listening to everything that MAGA supporter has to say, you'll get to realize that MAGA movement, while it might be deteriorating or disintegrating to some extent, there are those who are still believing in Donald Trump. They still believe that Donald Trump is like their saint, is like the guy who is holding that movement together, because without him, that MAGA movement cannot exist. So they still believe that Trump is innocent, and they want to be very delusional and don't even want to question open facts that certain things are bad. You even yourself wonder why he had to think that Trump was right by continuing to participate in things that if any other presidential candidate ever tried to do, they would even be impeached or disqualified from running for presidency. Many MAGA supporters maintain loyalty to Donald Trump because their political identity has become deeply intertwined with him as a symbolic figure. For many, Trump represents a challenge to institutions they believe have ignored or looked down on them for decades. In this framework, criticism of Trump, whether about policies, behavior, or rumored scandals, is interpreted less as a genuine warning and more as an attack on the values or identity of his supporters themselves. Another reason is that high level of distrust that many Trump supporters hold towards mainstream media, federal institutions, and political opponents, because allegations like being connected to Jeffrey Epstein have circulated around numerous public figures. Supporters may view the rumor as part of a broader pattern of politically motivated attacks. This leads them to dismiss the claim not being on its merit, but on who is promoting it, and the belief that such accusations are weaponized for political gain. In addition, some supporters engage in motivated reasoning, a psychological process in which people interpret information in ways that protect their pre-existing beliefs. If someone views Trump as the only political actor capable of fighting corruption, restoring economic stability, or defending traditional values, then any negative information, especially unverified rumors, may be reframed as false, exaggerated, or irrelevant to the big picture. Further, community and group cohesion also plays a role. Many Trump supporters belong to tightly knit social or online communities where skepticism towards accusations is the norm. Within such networks, loyalty is rewarded, doubt is discouraged, and alternative narratives spread quickly. These environments can create echo chambers that reinforce support even when potentially damaging information emerges. As such, some supporters simply adopt a pragmatic stance, even if they believe some allegations might be true or partly true. They judge Trump as preferable to the alternatives offered by political system. In this view, supporters focus on policy outcomes, ideological alignment, or perceived competence, and treat rumors, especially ones lacking confirmed evidence, as background noise rather than decisive information. So that tells you the psychology of white MAGA supporters. They cannot be convinced by any level of fact that can come from anybody, even if it is a true fact about Trump's involvement on the Jeffrey Epstein scandals and allegations. They don't want to listen to anything bad tainting their leader or their savior, if you may, in any bad way. They all want to talk about Trump in positive light, and they view Trump as the person who has come to challenge a system that they have wanted for so long, somebody who is brave enough to come and fight. So that is why you see even the reactions that they have had is not really something that you'd ever want any sane person to have. They have their delusions, and that is what they believe in. Share your thoughts down in the comment section, and if you're watching us for the first time, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share. Thank you, and let's meet on the next one.